anything to declare?
Yeah, don't go to New Zealand.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust and happy Easter. The very, very long weekend of Easter. My name is Naggy. I'm here once again with my little own chocolate egg, chocolate bunny maybe. Are you an egg or a bunny man, Liam?
Well, we'll discuss the eggs and my disappointment in them a bit later on, but I tell you, I had a lint bunny last night. Everyone laments that chocolate these days is worse.
Yeah.
Everything in the world's worse these days than it used to be, but I say the lint bunny is still fantastic. It's
Red
still very enjoyable.
Red tulip used to be quite a, up to the forefront of the supermarket range of chocolate.
Well, then, of course, there was the Whittaker's box, which you only got once a year ever, the Whittaker's box. It was, and then they changed to palm oil, I think.
They'd gone to palm oil.
Yeah,
right.
There was some sort of genocide carried out against the orangutans of Borneo.
Yes, I believe so.
And apparently everyone thought the chocolate was worse.
So they cut it out or they brought it back.
So it was a worse product and with overtones of environmental genocide.
Can they grow the palm oil plants somewhere that there isn't orangutans?
That's a great question, Naggy. That's one for the botanists in the fan base.
Please.
If there's any botanists amongst Joust listeners, or ecologists, or some sort of orangutanist, I don't know. Let's have a chat.
All of those.
Get on the blower. We'll have a chat, guys.
But it's a very long weekend, Liam. Easter, because everyone looks forward to Christmas. Christmas being, a very special time at the end of the year. Everyone says, "Oh, we'll do that at Christmas."
Yeah.
Time off over Christmas. People take time off work, but quite often it's just a very short. People go, "I'm taking this week off.
Yeah.
I'm taking this 6 days off. I'll be back in January." It comes around like that. But Easter, sneaky. You take a little Wednesday, Thursday here, maybe a Tuesday as well. It's a whole week you have off.
Unless you work in a bottle shop. Because
Unless you
Easter's
work in a bottle
also a
shop.
time for great drinking. So I worked most of it.
Yes, yeah, but it's an exciting time. People are
Well, that's
moving
it. Everyone
all
was in
around.
good vibes, so I didn't
Yeah.
mind too much. Everyone was happy. Everyone was obviously celebrating.
He
Even Jesus got a 3-day weekend tonight.
did, yeah. Well, he slept for most of it.
Lazy.
He's late. Well,
Lazy.
some could say. Demonetized once again, straight off the bat. But it was a wonderful time that you could be spending at the Wickham Park Hotel, Liam.
If only I was at the Wickham Park Hotel.
They do a wonderful job down there or up there, depending on where you are geographically.
I wonder what a beer drunk out of a large chocolate Easter egg would taste like. If it was a nice, rich stout, I think it'd be great.
I've seen some places do that.
Yeah.
They advertise it like,
Usually it's coffee. They put coffee, which is stupid because coffee's hot and chocolate famously melts.
Yes,
when it's hot.
But also they pour it into like the Cadbury bunny, but they're not like waterproof or beer proof. So it's just the foil's going to fill up and drip out everywhere.
It's not intended to be a drinking vessel.
No, exactly right.
No.
Yeah. So, but there's glasses out there.
There is.
You could use glasses.
Yeah.
But before we
Very
jump in,
affordable and commonly used vessel to drink beer out of.
it's dangerous. So if you drop it, 1,000 pieces of killer
Whereas
shards.
if you drop chocolate, it's not dangerous. It's just disappointing. And saddening. Yeah. Speaking of disappointing and saddening, ladies and gentlemen, the news.
Bum, 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 bum,
Now, in very disappointing and saddening news, Naggy, for all those chocolate lovers who are rugby league lovers, and all those rugby league lovers who are chocolate lovers, I think it's safe to say that capitalism has won again, Naggy. Yeah. Capitalism, ladies and gentlemen, has won again, as you all, as great rugby league fans, and I, and Naggy, as great rugby league fans, we think fondly back to the old-fashioned chocolate Steeden. It was always at the front of Woolies. A huge pile of chocolate Steedens, the size and shape of a senior match ball. Yes. It was a large chocolate. It was huge. And it wasn't thin chocolate.
No.
It was big, as I said, the size and shape of a Steeden.
We've got the weight there, 330 grams.
Is that the weight of a regulation Steeden? I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe back in the days when they used leather.
Yeah, possibly.
It would have been a 1 kilo chocolate egg. It would have been great. But the shrinkflation gods have struck us again, and in a way to save money, in a way to please the shareholders, in a way to get share prices up and wages down, they've shrunk the famous milk chocolate footy egg. Now, sorry, I haven't let Naggy chime in yet.
That's all right.
I am furious because I received one of these eggs. Thank you very much, Mum and Dad. I do appreciate the gift. It was very nice. However, I was furious at the NRL because if you look at the weight, they're 150 grams, less than one half of what it used to be. And Joust, as you'll all remember, the little foam footies they used to give out at Macca's, those things were great. Boy, weren't they great.
They were fun.
It's roughly the size and shape of one of them, and the chocolate's so thin it feels the heft, the weight of a small foam Steeden.
Yes.
I'm furious, Naggy.
Look, you see the comparison.
Yeah.
You can't beat that comparison. It's much smaller.
Yeah.
Shrinkage.
Significant shrinkage. Maybe the chocolate went in the pool. I don't know.
Maybe went in the dryer.
Went in the dryer. Do you have any thoughts, Naggy?
Well, it was always fun having more and more chocolate.
Yeah.
And 330 grams, a lot of chocolate to yourself. And you could break it away. You bite into the first bit. You'd make the first with a bite, and then you peel it away like a banana. And then you sort of gauge, all right, and you can sort of fold the foil over and go, I'll put that in the fridge. Were you a fridge chocolate man, I'm assuming?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember much of my childhood, sorry, Joust.
I'm a big fridge chocolate supporter.
It's one of the things about having undiagnosed ADHD is that when you grow up, you look back in your memories and you're like, I was born, then I was 13 for 10 minutes, and here I am.
Here I am.
So my only memory is being overjoyed at how big it was, and now I'm overjoyed at how small it was. And I won't make a joke about that.
Shrinkage once again.
Shrinkflation, Joust. It's the scourge of modern society, capitalist society. There's everything wrong with it.
Some things are getting smaller, Liam. Other things are getting bigger, like Coach Walters, Kevy, and his contract.
His contract.
He's remaining short. He's very short.
Well, he was never a large man. You got to think, if you think back to the great halves pairings of all time, surely Kevin Walters and Alan Langer were amongst the shortest halves pairings by aggregate.
Yeah,
you'd think so.
Yeah.
Unless imagine if Preston Campbell had played in the halves with Chris Sandow.
Of course,
that'd be a very short man halves pairing.
Tiny.
Yeah,
tiny.
But then if you got the other hand, you've got maybe Scott Hill. Playing in the halves.
Yes.
With, who else is a very tall half?
Oh, it's a good
I think
question.
Ryan Madison's played in the halves a bit. That'd be a tall halves pairing.
Tyson Gamble's
a tall man.
He's a tall
one
man.
half of our Newcastle halves combination. But yeah, Kevy Walters has thrown off his short man's stature to sign a much taller man's contract until 2026.
He's got Napoleonic rule over them, if you will. Yeah, he can't be stopped. If we look at the stats there, Liam, even though he took the team to a grand final last year, everything has been a series of success. But 80 games and only 43 won, 37 lost, 54%.
Well, you got to look at I think it was his first year. Was it they successfully won the wooden spoon? Maybe his second season. It was in his early years, and there was a lot of talk about
replace Seabold.
Seabold.
Yeah,
he replaced Seabold. Seabold was sending that ship down towards Spoonsville.
He was spooning trajectory.
Yes.
But at the time, I remember a lot of it was, Kevy as a coach is a buffoon. He's not a very good coach, blah, blah, blah. Makes the grand final. There's not been a word spoken about Kevy's coaching ability, positive or negative, since he was, lambasted by the media, which only clicked when I saw the extension and thought, boy, he's had a successful couple of years. They don't talk about that.
No.
These rugby league shills.
Well, he was a media darling for a while there until he got into the driver's seat, and then everyone turned on him very quickly and said, hang on a second, can this guy coach at all?
But in the rugby league media, they don't turn back.
No,
they went one way and they said, we can't stick with it because he's good now, but we can't go back on what we said on the past.
They just celebrate all these things. They say, well, I know he struggled, but isn't he great now?
And we've got more to say about those shills later
over there.
on.
Yeah.
Shills.
Speaking about family, obviously Billy Walters played in the Kevy Walters side. You got Nathan Cleary and Ivan Cleary, their family, but there's another family there, and the Penrith legend,
Mark Geyer.
Mark Geyer.
The man who infamously beat the hell out of...
Who was it?
Wally Lewis.
He didn't beat, he just shouted at him a lot. That was the thing. It was like, he grunted and sort of,
I just had a Mitch McConnell moment. I haven't had one of them in days.
McConnell. He's been McConnell.
But yeah, like MG, he was a legend of the game. He burned brightly, but he burned for a short period.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people forget that his career wasn't overly long after the Penrith Premiership. Obviously he went over to the Perth Reds, and I think at one point he got fired for using marijuana, was tested positive for marijuana use, and just generally was in Perth.
2 games for Origin.
2 games for Origin. Was that it?
Well, he was told, from his retelling, he had a pretty steady game 1, and they said, look, Mark, this isn't why I brought you into the side.
You're not a steady man.
No, we brought you into the side to ruffle some feathers and really upset the Queenslanders. So he went out there and basically,
He ruffled feathers.
Put it on high shots, and really was the hard man.
Essentially did what he was told to do. He followed his instructions to the T.
Yeah, and then I believe he was suspended for the 3rd game, and then he never played. He never was selected ever again.
He was punished for doing the job that his mentors told him to do. Isn't that just a sad state of affairs?
A hired
Imagine
gun.
being Mark Geyer, being told, go out, cause some rubbish, have
Yes.
some fun, Mark. He's just trying to have fun. And then the rugby league judiciary says, Mark, forget what those your mentors, your leaders, your men.
Yes.
Forget what those men told you. They were wrong.
Yes.
Wouldn't that just shake up your belief in the rugby league institutions entirely?
It would, but this hard man has had a fairy tale sort of ending, I suppose, even though he retired many, many years ago. That his son Maverick has made his debut for the Penrith Panthers.
And we knew a fella named Maverick back in the Wanderers days, and I'll tell you, if you told me he was Mark Guy's son, I would have believed you.
Yeah, what a player.
Drink like a fish.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And he could stand on his head and
Nude.
and then drink a schooner. It
I've
was
never seen
amazing
anything
to
like
see.
it. It
Yeah.
blew my mind. G'day, Maverick. I hope
G'day,
you're
Maverick.
listening. Love Maverick. But anyway, Mark Guy's son, whether or not he can scull a schooner of beer while naked stood on his head, I don't know, but he can play rugby league.
He can.
He showed that. I think he scored a try for Penrith. And, of course, not only is he Maverick Guy's son,
Mark Guy's son.
Mark
Or
Guy's
something, yeah.
son. Maverick Guy is the son of Mark Guy.
Yes.
Maybe he has a son himself. I don't know.
knows? Who knows?
It's Western Sydney. They have kids very young out there. Brandy Alexander's nephew.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, of course. Because
Again, they'll marry their cousins.
they marry out there. They marry within the team. Yes.
That's why they have such strong family dynasties in the West, because there's like 4 surnames.
They certainly do. But Liam, it's not all fairy tales and fun and games, because the sacred heart of the West Tigers, when they were just the Tigers, the Balmain Tigers, the Leichhardt Oval, which I believe is being held together mainly by strapping tape, and the foundations are being held up by tackling bags, is falling to pieces, and the state government has said, no dice, we have no money to give to you.
Well, I think one of the reasons that this makes sense is because the drinking hill there is commonly referred to as the piss hill.
Yes.
So, if you're watering the grass using nothing but urine, that's not going to be a pretty, pretty good-looking hill to stand on.
Very acidic.
But now, in rugby league, we value tradition. We value traditional values. We value the suburban je ne sais quoi,
Yes.
the tribalism of it all.
Uh-huh.
And I think Leichhardt is such a testament to that. Now, I've never been to a game at Leichhardt. Let me preface.
Yes.
But everything about Leichhardt is what is great about rugby league.
Uh-huh.
It's grassroots.
Yes.
It's traditionalist. It's tribal.
It's urine.
It's urine.
Yeah,
they sell
yeah.
full strength beer, which is, something that most of the rugby league public don't get to enjoy.
If we look at this photo up there we have there, does actually represent half of the Tigers, because they've only got half the Tigers emblem there, and there's cut off down the middle. Because the other half,
The other was drenched in piss.
Well, the other half, of course,
It was
is
starting to smell.
in their cultural marriage, if you will, to Campbelltown. Now, I don't know if you've been out to Balmain, Leichhardt sort of area.
I have.
The classic sort of painters and dockers, but now it's quite oozy bougie.
Oh, it's very inner west. Yeah, it's no longer the Leichhardt of your Wayne Pierces or, God forbid, even your Thomas Rodonicus was involved in the Leichhardt.
No, he was the West Magpies.
He had something to do with Leichhardt.
Did he really?
I don't know. I hope
can't
so. He
remember,
should have. If he didn't, he should have. I know he was from the Magpies side. but
Yes.
I think he liked Leichhardt. maybe?
Liked
He liked
card?
it? Yeah. Liked card. And there, of course, you see Shane Richardson, which, standing under the sign that says that Leichhardt was established in 1934, Shane Richardson looks like he too was established in 1934.
Everyone's talking about Shane Richardson as like a great administrator and a real sort of face of the game, and he did the things that he did at South.
Well, he looks like that. I hope he's not the face of the game.
Well, it also at the same time you hear him talk, and I want Leichhardt to be there and whatnot, but I lost a lot of confidence in him. Like just listening, the longer he spoke, much like us, the longer we speak, the less confidence you have in us, because he just seems to be on this decline. He's sort of like he was like, oh, we've got the team that we want, and I've sacked the recruitment officer,
Liam Fulton.
Scott Fulton.
Scott Fulton.
Fulton.
Liam Fulton, of course, was a kind of forgetful player who played for West Tigers.
And he's like, we don't need one because we've got 8,000 juniors, but I'm also on the board that selects them. But the same, because but we've got what we need. All we need is a few more. And it's sort of like, it sounds like you don't have what you need. But anyway, he goes on and on. He wax lyricals about the Tigers. Good on them for trying to pick themselves up after 2 horrible spoons.
But I think it's a stab in the heart from the New South Wales government, who I believe they've promised money to Penrith for an upgrade, which, don't get me wrong, well deserved. It needs it.
Yes.
They earned it. They should get it.
Golden urinals.
Golden urinals.
Yeah.
But I figure that if the state government can afford to fund schools,
Yes.
can afford to fund hospitals, can afford to fund the Crown Casino, why can't they afford $300 million on Leichhardt?
Do we need 300 million?
Like, how much is $300 million in the scheme of things? What's that, like one school?
I think
Just shut a school.
shut a school down.
Yeah. There's too many schools. I've been saying it for years.
Teach kids out of the oval. You get that way. You've got a couple of demountables put up.
Well, I think
Toilets?
for years the West West Tigers Centre of Excellence was actually Demountables.
Demountables.
I don't think that's in any way, shape, or form an exaggeration.
What more do you need?
They already have defunded a school just to build their own Centre of Excellence.
What are they trying to fix? Can we just keep Leichhardt and if the grandstand's there and then it's got some troubles, it's about to fall down, pull it down, have people stand.
A second hill.
What's the difference?
What's the difference? We love standing and watching rugby league. It's one of
Why
life's
are they
great pleasures.
trying to fight to fix a place where you just go to watch? That's all it is. You can stand.
No, it's not. It's a place where you go to feel.
Yeah.
It's a place where you go to engage. It's a place
Yeah.
where you go to celebrate. It's a joyous place. Except when the Tigers are bad and they lose there all the time.
They do often lose there. They won recently, but that's
To be
not
fair, they often lose everywhere.
that's not tradition. But speaking of someone from the Tigers-ish dynasty, if you will, the Pearces.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say Mitch Pearce was somehow linked to the West Tigers. But he wasn't.
Well, his father was.
He was. His
Yeah,
father, of course,
yeah.
Wayne Pearce. who,
Wayne Pearce.
Growing up, my dad told me is the picture of health and stamina that Wayne Pearce used to eat 40 bananas before a game.
Might be too many.
I just believed Dad. I was like, yep, Dad, that's got to be true. Sure. And it wasn't until 2 or 3 years ago, a friend of mine said, Liam, that's way too many bananas. No one could eat that much. You'd die of potassium poisoning.
You would.
It's quite radioactive.
Yes.
And it blew my little mind.
It blew it away.
I thought 40 bananas is a reasonable breakfast.
Imagine that. Just go to the fruiterer, your local fruiterer, and said, "I want 40 bananas." They said, "We've got no more. You've taken all the bananas away."
He goes, you're having breakfast, aren't you?
He goes, "Luckily, there's no more for the orangutans, but the chocolate industry fixed that as well." There's been a call out by the Eels of all teams to say, "Hey, Mitchell Pearce, you're not doing much with your life anymore. That you've retired from rugby league. Why don't you
Isn't
come
he
back?"
still playing in France?
No, he's retired.
Ah.
He said, he's hung up the boots and said, "That's enough for me."
Now, just as we were beginning this show, I was reminded that yesterday, if not 3 days ago, perhaps, was
Possibly.
April Fool's Day, and maybe we should check the date on this article.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Could well be April Fool's, but we threw it in there anyway because it's fun.
It makes sense. It
does
makes
make
sense
sense.
because the Eels are without a halfback, Mitchell Moses, because of a foot injury that he'll be out possibly for 10 weeks. And Mitchell Pearce is just sitting around and saying, "Hey,
The first name's already on the team sheet. You just have to
Mitchell.
rub out the second name and
and whack on Pearce."
Yeah.
But potentially that could be the way that the Eels go because they lost against the Tigers.
the very same Tigers who performed so well at Leichhardt Oval. Now, if this was played at the old Cumberland Oval, I think you'd really, be amazed at what a rugby league suburban ground was like. And I think if Leichhardt is to be torn down, I hope it's in the same manner they tore Cumberland Oval down.
How was that?
So the Parramatta Eels won a premiership, I do believe, and the fans burnt the grandstand to the ground. So I think that's why they no longer build grandstands out of wood due to fans burning it to the ground when they succeed.
Win, lose or draw, they burn it down. Yeah.
Which is funny if you're a hockey fan and you know the history of Canadian hockey teams. If they win or lose the Stanley Cup Finals, riots everywhere.
Right.
When they lost in 2011, within about 15 minutes of the final game ending, Mum had to jump on the phone to all the family, like, "Are you guys okay? Is everything all right?" Because Vancouver had erupted.
Is that the
into
French
riots.
influence? Because they love
No,
to
because it
riot.
happens in the English cities as well. Calgary did it. Montreal's most well known for doing it, being Français, Québécois.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vancouver went nuts.
Okay.
Absolutely. They were flipping cop cars. They were looting. They were setting things on fire. And I think that's what Australian sport's missing. Vandalism.
Yes, I think
More vandalism. Yeah.
Excitement. The game only goes to 80 minutes. The broadcaster only has 80 minutes of action. Let's extend that out for a few days.
Well, that's it. It was great television coverage. There's a famous photo of a couple,
Yes.
There's that great photo at the end of the war where the sailor dips the woman and he makes a kiss.
Of course.
There's a great photo from the 2011 Vancouver riots where there's a fella in the middle of the street laying down with a woman passionately embracing, and there's fire everywhere, and there's riot cops, and there's people throwing bins and stuff.
And a Mountie about to...
That was Richmond, our dear friend. But no, I looked it up, and the fella who was doing the kissing, Aussie bloke.
Oh, what's it?
Well, that's very Australian. We see a mess, we see a riot.
Yeah.
So want to mack on some Canadian bird.
Loving. We get down to
That's what we
loving. Speaking about...
Speaking about loving.
Speaking about loving, hating. Now, Liam, you often refer to the News Corp shills.
And the Fox shills.
Everything under...
The Murdoch shills and the Packer shills. There's two basic camps of shilling. There's the Murdoch shills and there's the Packer shills.
There are.
And never the twain shall meet.
And quite often, you think, like, why are these people the way they are? And you think, are we judging them unfairly? Now,
No.
Dean Ritchie, Bulldog Ritchie, which I think it must be only given his name because his face is a bit chub.
A bit. And droopy.
He's
Chub
been,
and droopy.
He's been a News Corp Chile reporter to report only on rugby league for what seems to be at least the last 30 years. And he recently there's been a few, I would say, misses rather than hits. Now, most recently he interviewed Benji Marshall, and he came out and said, you know what, Benji Marshall's a bit of a part-time coach. He wants to live the rest of his life outside of coaching. Coaching should be done 20 hours a day. It should be your lifeblood. How dare he go home and see his young children?
And I believe he said that about the players too. Benji said, wouldn't you know it? Work-life balance is good for people, and Bulldog said no.
He said no. I'm sure Bulldog apparently is at his typewriter for all of that time.
Well, work-life balance is easy if you sat back in a golden recliner plugging away on a typewriter. He's not out there on the coal fields.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Probably types with one hand.
You know what else 10 fingers can do?
What?
Swing a pickaxe in the coal mines, Bulldog.
Yeah,
get a real job.
Get out there.
Yeah, hobo. But what did he say?
But he certainly missed because he was insinuating that Benji Marshall's not a very good coach because Benji Marshall basically said...
Well, because he's a youth.
He said, he's a youth and Bulldog's old.
Youths.
Bulldog's old now and he doesn't know what the hell's going on. Anyway, we have back-to-back wins by Benji Marshall. But Bulldog's known for this sort of, I would call a very, very cold take. Because also, at the end of last year, he said, look, I've had enough of this try-celebrations. I've had enough of the theatre of the try celebrations. They should simply score a try, shake hands with
good, stern gentleman's handshake.
Yeah. And if we go back to when surely Dean Ritchie was kicking off his career, there we have a win there from the Canberra Raiders.
It was 1989 grand final. If my memory serves me correctly.
Yes.
Which it probably doesn't because I was only born that year. That's Steve Jackson there, scored the winning try. But now what you can see there, Naggy, he is taking Dean Ritchie's advice. He's shaking hands with God.
Yeah.
Because when you win... a Winfield Cup premiership, you have kissed God on the dick.
Yes, exactly.
And you're right to shake his hand. So I think Bulldog there might be right. You can celebrate by jumping as long as you're shaking hands with God.
And I just have a little bit inside me that's a bit angry with Dean Bulldog Ritchie because of the worst take that he ever made was back in 2022, right? 2022, round 6, I believe, against the Dragons, this very team that we're about to play. If the contract negotiation with Kalen Ponga was going on and on, and everyone said he's going to leave. Dean Ritchie announced, he released his story that Kalen Ponga will sign with the Dolphins, Wayne Bennett's Dolphins, yet to put a foot on the field. When did he release it? At halftime of the game against the Dragons. Kalen Ponga was playing and the game was undecided. That means that Kalen Ponga could have rightly told his teammates, don't worry guys, I'm staying. Don't tell anyone. Then they hear in the sheds, hey, Kalen Ponga's leaving, that guy over there. Then they have to go back out and play 40 minutes of football. They lost by 5 points.
Now, Naggy, did Bulldog Ritchie come out after Kalen Ponga re-signed with the Knights and say, well, I was wrong.
No.
I apologise to Kalen Ponga. I apologise to the club. I apologise to rugby league and its fans. And did he say that?
And possibly influencing the outcome of the game. No, he said, I thought because Andre Ponga is not really a manager and the Knights is like, he just got it wrong and he wrote a whole article about it. He released it on 2 television broadcasts. What a piece of shit.
Yeah. But to end on a more positive note...
That's his full-time job!
To end on a more positive note and to shit on Bulldog's ideas even more, when was the month they did Try Celebration July?
Oh, I can't remember.
I think it was July. Yeah, so Sportsbet, we're going to donate $1,000 to, I don't know, the orangutans or something for every post-try celebration.
Yes.
It was one of the funnest months of rugby league I've ever watched in my life.
Not for Bulldog Ritchie.
No, he hated it. He was sitting there fuming. Oh, these kids, they've probably got iPods out there in their pockets.
And, high-fiving with their Game Boys and their Tamagotchis and
jumping around like gays.
That's exactly how he thinks.
That's Bulldog for you. That wasn't me saying that. That was Bulldog Ritchie saying that.
Why does he still have a job? No one quite knows. Well, before we jump into everything Newcastle Knights, we'll be coming right back for the second half of the Joust. All right. Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. Now, Liam, as we look forwards, not backwards, not forwards, twirling, always twirling very quickly to the game this Friday night. Very busy weekend we've just had. Everyone was doing different things and whatnot. But
we had a lot of things on. You know, we're a good Christian nation, Australia. Good Christian nation, of course. We celebrate a man dying for our sins.
Years ago.
He died for our sins so we can do whatever the hell we want. That's what I was taught growing up.
It's all in the rearview mirror now. And now we have to get back to reality, back to work. It's very busy. You know, you're trying to finish on your Friday. You've only had a 4-day week. You had a 4-day week last week. Work's piling up. You're panicking. How am I going to get to the stadium? You don't need to get to the stadium.
Well, you don't need to because it's a stadium. There's a lot of lining up. There's a lot of waiting. There's a lot. Of, you have to sit on chairs. There's no hill to stand on except if you're at the end. But then you don't get a good view, and then you can't get a full strength beer.
Where do you go?
Yeah, where do you go?
The Wickham Park Hotel.
Wickham Park Hotel. And I tell you, I wish I'd had dinner there tonight.
Oh, yes.
I had dinner elsewhere, and apologies, we had to delay the filming of the show, and I won't tell you why, you dirty-minded bastards.
You wouldn't get that at the Wickham Park Hotel. The very own Joust burger, which you can get for $15. $15 Australian dollars.
In this cost of living crisis,
which is a fraction,
in this economy,
a fraction of the cost you'd spend on a ticket.
You know, still suffering the ravages of a Tony Abbott government. You know, for $15 for a burger and a big pile of chips, you couldn't find a better way to enjoy a game of rugby league.
But if you've already bought a ticket, you think, well, I must go to the game. Wickham Park Hotel, conveniently only just down the road.
It's a mere one train station stop away.
I think so.
Very
too.
convenient.
Yeah.
What a convenient location and a great pub.
A great pub. Hopefully you head straight there. But Liam, before we look to the Dragons, the St George Dragon,
yes,
which has got its own more
on
problems,
that later.
We must look slightly backwards.
Yes,
to the game over there in New Zealand. We went over there to New Zealand. We got on a plane. They didn't boat it. They thought, no, put the sailboat away. We're getting on the plane.
Again, it's a relatively large ditch. It'd take you days if you're on a boat, probably.
Yeah, and I think if we...
I don't go on boats much.
No, it's overrated.
Yeah.
But if you go back, you know, we went up to Frownsville up there, you know, very long way to go, other side of Australia. And then we thought we're going to leave Australia.
It's quite literally the same side.
Yeah.
You got that one wrong. It was a 50-50 and you got it wrong.
The other end.
Top and bottom.
Top and bottom. There you go.
Top and bottom. We're towards the bottom. It's up the top. And we decided, well, we're going to...
Certain parts of Newcastle would consider the arse end of Australia, if not the world.
And when you're in a Newcastle area, you look at the ocean, you go, oh, that's a big ocean. And we crossed it. And we said, we're going to play rugby league
I think
over
it's
there.
the sea
in
between.
Is it the Tasman?
Tasman Sea?
The Tasman Sea.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
And
Any
so
oceanographers, please feel free to correct us.
And we hopped in a plane. We went over to New Zealand. Very hard road trip because New Zealand over there.
It's an air trip.
It's not
a road trip. It's an
air
trip.
Yeah, you have to drive to the airport.
So it's
and
then you got to find a park at the airport.
Oh, it's terrible. Planes, trains, and automobiles all the way over there to Auckland. That's where it was, wasn't it? It wasn't one of the other ones.
That was Auckland.
Yeah. Went over to Auckland to play the Wars. And it was always going to be very tough. Now, this was made tougher before we even got there because we lost our very own Dane Gagai.
Yeah, Dane Gagai, he fell off the plane.
He
fell out the window. It was a Boeing 737. They're just having a raft of issues with the 737s. My
sucked
God.
Out. So they said, well,
I believe Boeing actually executed one of their former engineers the other day.
It was a medical issue, they said. But we lost him and we replaced him.
Falling out of a plane and breaking all your bones. That's a pretty medical issue. But again, we are no medical practitioners.
Please do not think we might be medical practitioners. But they said, we're going to replace Varane Dane Gagai, a very seasoned centre.
A veteran.
Of
sorts.
Yeah, and we're going to put Dylan Lucas, who now plays back row, who's played a lot of centre and Reggie's, but...
An inexperienced fella, but a fella no less.
Up against the Alphabet.
The Alphabet. Yeah. Man, we got Alphabet souped, didn't we?
We did get Alphabet
Oh, my God.
souped.
We got RTS, we got CNK, we got DWZ,
Zeds.
we got AFB, and they didn't even have CNK and TMM. My God. How do you keep up?
They barely...
How do you keep up?
They had a lot of consonants out.
I'd love to play Scrabble with just New Zealand Warriors teammate names.
And we also
how to Scrabble.
We also had a big and tough Thompson out. I was about to call him Joel. No, Leroy Brown.
Baddest man in the whole damn
Baddest man in the whole damn town.
We were without him as well, so we upgraded a Safidi to match the other Safidi that we already had. We already had the current model, and we thought, well, we'll match it. And but then it was a very, very difficult first 20 minutes.
Well, I came into this podcast, Joust, as you don't see the before the scenes type things. I came into this very undecided about this game. I couldn't decide. Was it good? Was it bad? Did I enjoy it? Did I hate it? I don't know. So I'm really glad I'm feeding off your energy because I think I know how to feel about it now.
Okay.
But you tell me how you feel about it because I'm still undecided. I don't know. It was such a strange game as far as the Knights go over the last few years because there was bits where I said this is good.
Yes.
There was bits where I was this is bad, and they kind of evened each other out.
Well, I think this would have been a great game for us to have last year because we would have said, by God, we competed.
Yes.
Remember we were seeking for competing early last year, mainly 2022.
Competition was the goal.
Yeah, it
We
was
weren't
just
chasing the wins. We were chasing just competitiveness.
just competitive. But then the back end of last year, we started winning and winning all the time, and then
And all of a sudden, being competitive was not good enough.
not good enough. No, we
Which
have to
again,
win.
I think that's the stink of Nathan Brown. He told us fans, he told the team, we don't need to be competitive.
No, yeah.
We're going to lose a bunch, and we all
Yeah.
just said, yeah,
Well,
sure,
sure.
We just ate it up. We said we're not going to be competitive. We're not going to win. Cool. We'll still send 25,000 Nova Castries to the stadium every week.
Yeah.
And we've never recovered from that. There has never been a sporting coach in history who said our team's shit. We have no chance. And the
with it.
fans gobbled it up. We ate it up.
Yeah.
Like it's the ultimate. And we've discussed this at length before.
Nauseam.
That is the ultimate defeatist attitude that
Yes.
Newcastle had for years.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm back there.
It does sort of feel
Except
like
now that I know we're meant to be competitive and it hurts more.
last year, the back end of last year, we began. Why didn't we win this? But we're without some strike. We're without some of the Dom Youngs. I know, I don't know. It's all right. So, but without the Greg
Thanks, Tom.
Majeurs.
Majeur.
So we got these two new wingers there, and Tom Jenkins
Yeah.
and Ari Tuwala, and we went over that. We did lack a bit of strike. However, it did look like in the first 20 minutes that it could have been a 40-0 affair.
Now, there was a similar thing the Warriors did in round one against the Sharks.
Yeah.
First 20 minutes, dominance. Absolute dominance. Didn't score much, though.
Okay.
And then were eventually rolled.
Yes.
And so when they were dominating early, I was like, this is familiar. I've seen this before. When have I seen this? I saw it in round one. I
saw the film.
Maybe the Knights can wrestle back control, wrestle back momentum.
And they
maybe wrestle back a lead.
And they sort of did that as far as possession was very low early on. Penalty count against us was very high.
Territory we were trounced, couldn't get outside the half. So often the return kick of the Warriors in the first 20 minutes, they were, on the 40-metre line on the first hit up, on the 50-metre line on the first hit up. That speaks maybe to the lack of a good long kicking game also.
Potentially, yeah.
But also, the fact that Newcastle had such a dearth of territory.
Dearth.
I think, I still don't know what dearth means.
It worked. I was rolling with it.
Yeah.
I was trying to work it out myself.
Yeah.
But they
It's definitely in the dictionary.
they seem to be outrunning us most times, but also the letters, the alphabets,
Through the
the alphabets on the back were just outdoing our very own Jenkins and Tualas and whatnots, with full names, and we struggled to really get up and into good attacking position. However, out of pure grit and determination, we managed to get
Stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah, stick-to-itiveness. We managed to get a try through Tyson Frizzell, and that's correct, isn't it? Tyson Frizzell.
A beautiful kick try. Wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a grubbing kick.
Yes, and then he still had plenty of work to do. But then all of a sudden, it's 12-6 at halftime. And we thought, hang on a second, this isn't 40-0. This is 12-6.
Which is a nice feeling.
We're in it.
Which again, going into with the Warriors game, we're up 14-0 at halftime. I think
That wasn't the Warriors game. So it was
I call back to the Cowboys game. We're down 14-0 at halftime. Like, well, this isn't good. But we go into halftime of the Warriors game, down 12-6. I'm like, oh, this is good.
We were up against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
12-0.
No, that's what I mean. We were up at halftime going into the second half.
yeah.
Oh, this isn't good. But
This
we were
isn't
down
good, yeah.
12-6 in this game. Going, oh, this is good.
Yes,
this is good.
The 14s came in the storm, but
Yes.
then we went back out there. We thought, this might be our half, and then
it wasn't.
the double M.
That's part of the alphabet.
Yes, Montoya.
Slim Shady over there.
Decided to get a very quick try. A lot of it's been going down poor old Tom Jenkins, and I think Tom Jenkins can perform on the wing, can jump, but he's just been out-jumped, outmatched.
Well,
it looked like we were outmatched all over the park.
You can't really blame Tom Jenkins for that try because he did everything right. He got in the air. He had his hands positioned, his arms positioned correctly to take the steed in. It just so happened that Marcelo Montoya took one of the great AFL-styled catches of all time, which I'm not sure they have AFL in New Zealand.
No, they might not.
Yeah. Oh, no, they do.
Oh, they do.
Former Storm player Matt Duffy.
Yes.
Not Dufty. Matt Duffy played for the New Zealand AFL team.
Oh, right.
In an international game.
What do they call
They
it?
do have it.
Australian rules football.
Arsehole Football League because they don't like us. They don't like us. But yeah, it was truly the alphabet just tearing shreds of us. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck showed us why if he hadn't left for the great game of rugby union, he'd be in the conversation, one of the greatest fullbacks of all time. He comes back, he hasn't missed a beat.
Very strong.
He absolutely dominated. The forward pack of the Warriors. They were strong.
They were.
Strong. AFB, of course. AFB.
Of course. I thought we handled him pretty well.
I know. I just wanted to get another alphabet.
No, another
reference in.
alphabet, of course. But I thought, we handled a lot, but we just couldn't handle it all.
It was the New Zealand back five that would be the hardest to handle.
Spinning too many plates, I think we were trying to do. But there was a surprise a player that's constantly said, why is he in the team? He's a bit of a reserve grade player. He's played almost 100 first grade games by this point and was our leading try scorer a few times. Anari Tawala. Now, it doesn't have the kind of pace or flash of a Dom Young, but by God, he played well, and that's my hats off for this week.
Yes, that's your hats off, Naggy. I thought that was mine, but we'll give him a joint hats off. I think you often talk about Anari Tawala as one of those players that coaches love.
Yes.
Coaches love him, and you often watch and you say, why does the coach love this guy? I don't get it. I think the game on the weekend showed us why coaches love a fella like Anari Tawala.
Yes.
He was effort.
Yeah,
he was resilience.
It was.
He was determination. He's much more powerful than I gave him credit for in the past.
Yeah.
He seems to have bulked up a bit in the off-season. He ran for 200 and something metres. I think there was 6 tackle busts in there, 2 line breaks.
Yes.
He had a remarkable game. He was safe as a house. They kicked to him all day.
Yep.
All day they kicked to him.
They did.
And he didn't take a step back.
No.
Except when he took a step back because he was forced to and they put him over the goal line.
They did do that.
Besides that, I was really impressed with Anari Tawala.
Did the leg out catch in the corner.
The rugby league commentators keep saying that because it happened last week in another game. They said that's a really high IQ play. He really does know the rules of rugby league.
Yes.
Shouldn't they all?
Do you know what?
Isn't that a part of rugby league to know the rules of rugby league?
But this is a rule that I think everyone gets wrong because you have your leg out and everyone catches the ball very
You only have to
certainly.
touch it.
You only have to touch it.
Yeah.
You only have to, that would be if he just put his leg out and just went bang
Yeah.
and just hit it back in. Everyone would be like, and then be like, no. It's actually the Knights ball. That would be like, wow, he really knows the rules. But this is like,
I find it amazing when players do the most minimal thing and they're like, he knows the rules.
There's a fear.
Like the bar is so low for rugby league players.
And rugby league players are still have this fear that if they do by the rules, touching the ball with their leg out, that they'll say, play on, and they'll go, shit, and they'll look like an idiot. But it was some great stats. 22 runs, which is pretty incredible.
That's a lot.
228 metres. There's a couple of line breaks there.
It wasn't 6, which I said. It was 2.
Yeah, but
it felt like tackle bust.
Tackle bust, you said. Yeah. But post-contact metres to show that it wasn't just the line break. 60 metres post-contact.
The sign of a powerful man. Because, again, he was up against powerful Warriors, backline players.
Yes,
these are not slouches, the men who were tackling him. Yet he still managed to power through and sometimes around them.
Won me over. Now, we talked about effort, grit, and determination before. This might be a player that you want to speak
now. Tyson Frizzell. That man is playing like a 1983 Chateauneuf de Pape. Every year, in the off season, we put him in the cellar, keep him in a cold dark room in the cellar there, and he's getting better.
Okay, yeah.
It's a wine, of course.
Okay,
it's a wine.
of course. Yeah.
What else gets better with age?
Well, I didn't know what the French.
You don't know Chateauneuf de Pape, one of the finest houses in the south of France.
I was going through my French phrase book at the time.
See, for me in my 20s, it was either a 1983 Chateauneuf de Pape or a $3.90 Gossip's Merlot.
Well,
more often chose the latter.
Yeah.
But look, Tyson Frizzell, I think we can safely say he's in some of the best form of his career at the age of 47.
Yep.
And I think it showed where he made nothing but a regulation tackle and he snapped a man's leg.
Too hard.
He snapped his leg in 2 bits.
In twain.
When it was previously in 1 bit.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it. It was amazing. We said, no shade thrown to Luke Metcalf, but drink some more milk, boy.
There was
Jesus.
It was one of those tackles that he hit him so hard. There was almost a look for should this be penalised?
Yeah.
Should this be a penalised? Same as good old Stephen Crow playing for the 4th grade.
Killed a man.
Nearly killed a man.
He got sent off. The ref said to him, he said, that was a clean tackle, but
it was just
you can't hit that hard. Go have 10 minutes,
You can't
please.
be breaking people's legs, Tyson.
And it was one of those. There was another hit in the game, and I mentioned this to Brittany. I can't remember who it was, but someone got smashed, and they just smiled, patted the guy on the head. And I said to Britt, sometimes you get tackled so hard.
Yes.
The only thing you can do is smile and pat the guy on the back and say, that was a good tackle. Thank you. Thank you for subjecting me to that.
As all the neurons you regather in your brain. Yeah. Thrown out your ear. But hats off to Tyson Frizzell.
Yeah, and the try he scored, obviously. The effort he puts in constantly, leading the kick chase, leading the defensive line.
It was our best game this season. It was our best.
Feasibly.
Yeah. Tyson
Frizzell was named in Michael Maguire's 36-man Origin squad, I do think.
I'd have to be.
Would it be time for a recall.
Well, he was only missed last year's Game 3, so he's not too far out of the picture.
Yeah.
Our very own Kalen Ponga, of course, not only Mark Tuki'd another 100%.
100% still, my God, isn't that
2 from
something?
2. They weren't easy kicks either.
No.
He had to work for them.
But he was breaking the line at will too.
He was.
He was getting a lot of meters up as he always does. Slippery, powerful through the hips, playing very good football.
Played his guts out.
He's playing really gutsy this year.
Yeah.
Really gutsy. I think another honourable mention I'd like to make, Dylan Lucas came in for the injured Dane Gagai. Now, he's been earmarked as, more of a second role, but he did play a fair bit of centre in his junior years, and I think it showed.
Wing and centre.
He's surprisingly good footwork.
Yeah.
Hits the line hard. Good movement before the line. I was really impressed with Dylan Lucas. I think he showed that we do have a very handy backup to, Dane Gagai when he inevitably needs a couple of rests through the year because, much like Tyson Frizzell, he's 47 years old.
But it's not all fantastically, and when we take our hat off, we must return a hat back on, and unfortunately...
Otherwise, you'll get cold.
Dan Safidi got his opportunity playing in the front row, starting in his usual position, which he played for many years, and I thought maybe this was going to see the good old Daniel Safidi, and there was just a few things that a missed tackle here on Wade Egan, and then did he get the ball stripped from him? Was that his brother? I don't know. There was
one of them. Naggy, you're more astute than I am. What's happened to Daniel Safidi?
I don't know.
What has happened to Daniel Safidi?
He's getting old. No, he should be at the prime of his career.
This is a front rower's career prime,
Yeah.
but he doesn't seem to be hitting it.
Well, it seems like there was, I'd say a few years ago, he came across a group of witches that said they were over there boiling a pot of potion, and then he said, "Oh, hello," and they said, "We'll give you all the powers of a great front rower. However, when you reach the age of 20-something,
you're going to make lazy defensive reads."
And he says, "I'll take it. Give me 2." And he went, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden now he's just not the same Daniel Safidi that we really hoped he could be. He just seems like there's been a few times where he gets stuck in the middle, and unfortunately now, because he's such a big unit, you see these quicker, faster players that think, hang on, I'm gonna go here, and they try it, and then he dives and he misses, and then it was the Wade Egan all over again. And really, that was the try that really upset the whole game.
Now that's another one I'm glad you mentioned, Wade Egan. I think I mentioned recently that I've been watching Wade Egan for a number of years now, and his body used to be too slow for his brain. He would do all the things that smart hookers would do, but he was just a second too slow. Like he'd throw the pass but he'd be forward, which he did 2 times. That weren't called, but we don't worry about that. Yeah. But he's finally caught up with his body to his brain, and he's a really smart hooker. And he the way he negotiated with the Newcastle Knights definitely was to our detriment.
And he looked in pain at one stage. He almost died, and that's where he gets all his power from. Pain. He lives in pain.
Constantly in pain.
He's like the fellow. I was going to say the fellow from The World Is Not Enough, but he lives without pain. So he's the opposite of that guy.
That's Sean Bean. No, that's Gold.
No.
Robert
Carlyle. He got shot in the brain, and then every day he feels less but gets stronger, which isn't a thing that happens in your brain. However, I digress. So that's Wade Egan. He's getting Robert Carlyle. But Liam, again, forwards not backwards, backs not forwards. Twirling,
always
twirling. Quickly, just on the St. George Dragons, Liam, because if you look at the St. George logo, there is a knight in the background there.
There is. The knight's larger than the dragon, which I doubt.
And that is St. George.
Maybe it wasn't a dragon, it was a salamander.
That is St. George who slayed the dragon.
He slayed. The dragon was the victim in the whole thing.
It was.
The dragon was the one who got taken down and murdered. And yet they've decided, nah, he won the fight. We're putting him on our jersey.
He had no weapons.
We're naming a whole suburb after the knight, but we're labelling our team as the one who was killed by the knight. Does that make any sense to you now?
It sort of does. I'm sort of following. I don't know. But at this point, we don't know. But then we're coming up against the Dragons, who we don't have a good record against, but we've made some team selections that are slightly different to last week. Some familiar faces coming back. Some familiar faces no longer there. But I think the biggest movers and shakers is the return of the Jackson Hastings.
Now, we've seen, as of, 2 weeks ago, the NRL media reported that he was sent home from training quite furiously, fist fought Adam O'Brien on the way. It took a shit on Phil Gardner's car, only to put out 5 try assists the following week, and now he's back to the team. So I wonder when the NRL media are going to apologise for that one.
I think Andrew Voss
Shills.
I think they might have did. I think they did throw.
Oh no,
that was just something else.
But yeah, apparently in the call of the game on the weekend, Vossi saw someone having a nap on the hill, and he said that's Jackson Hastings having a nap.
Oh dear.
And then Hastings called called him out on social media, and Vossi, being the classy fella he is, he did apologise. And Jackson Hastings also been a pretty classy fella. Just that's cool, Vossi. All respect, mate.
Wonderful.
Love your work.
Now,
so that was very nice.
now
That's why he's got such a big smile here.
Big smile on the dial. Now we got that's in we've lost Tyson responsibly, and I think most people when they're looking at it, they think Cogger hasn't turned out to be the 7 that we need. However, should we go back to the days of Jackson Hastings? Yes, we should.
So there's a fourth halves combination in 4 rounds. That bodes ill for any rugby league team. But I think, Naggy, these are going to be the 2 best performing halves, if not because of their own performance, but because of the performance of someone else returning to the side, Jaden Brayley.
Jaden Brayley.
The broken man has been put back together.
Yes.
And it'll be service from Jaden Brayley that will feed the halves, as opposed to our, favourite of the pod. We love Phoenix Crossland. Don't get us wrong. We love him. But we think maybe it's time for a more experienced noggin to take over. And is that noggin Jaden Brayley?
It possibly is. I think he's shown
enough. It better be, because he's the one who's been putting the jersey. So.
He's shown enough over his about 45 minutes of game time.
He was great.
It was
a very good return.
The service looks great. Much you forget if you're watching.
Crisp as a freshly opened bag of Doritos.
It was sort of, if you compare Phoenix and Jaden, was sort of how you compare the Knights and the Warriors. The Knights look crisp.
Both good.
They look good. The Knights were on effort, which is more Phoenix.
He's an effort man.
And he's an effort
which
man.
is very important. I think as a 14 off the bench, that's what you want. Effort.
He does, and I think he can still come out there and really upset the middles. I think he's got a great defensive game when he's energized. And Jaden Brayley, I think it just looks like a very good hooker.
He can direct the team more effectively, which will take a bit of the responsibility off of the 2 halves, who we mentioned that make up the 1 whole of the halves pairing of the Newcastle Knights, which will make up half of the whole halves pairing of the game.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I've gone cross. Another big return,
Yeah.
To cover, Dan Safidi's inadequacies. I don't think it'd be incorrect to say at the moment is big bad Leo Thompson. Big bad Leo Thompson.
One of those tireless effort players that you almost forget how good he is. Yeah,
powerful player,
and obviously throws up the big man, stockier man, and as well Dan Gagai coming back,
an experienced veteran
in place
that every side needs.
Yes, and also 2 tries this season out of 3 games. And I think tries are going to be at a premium against the Dragons there at McDonald Jones Stadium. Back to the Fortress, but
again a bad record against the Dragons at the Marathon Stadium.
They've always had our number. Even I remember when the first round in
18 wins St George, 5 wins Newcastle. That's
not great. I was going to say they would be expecting a win, but none of the players that won those games are still playing.
No,
they would be. I remember the game when Wayne Bennett took over and we played them round 1, 2012, and was like, oh, look at the team that we've got. We're going to thrash them. It's Wayne Bennett's old side. Dragons won easy, and we're just like shit. So if we look, they've had sort of an up and down, and to a point. The season so far, where they just thrashed the Titans, but then they
are bad,
and then they got thrashed by the Dolphins,
who are okay,
and then they got thrashed by the Cowboys,
who we don't know if they're good or bad.
We're not really sure, but also they scored 24 points. But then they managed to beat the Seagulls
in a disgusting game of footy. That was terrible. That was really ugly. There was so many errors. I hope that's the Dragon side we see.
I think so.
Tom Trbojevic had the worst game of his career, and they only put 20 points on.
Well,
should have been 1,000, but they also played poorly.
Liam, when I ask the question, how do we win this game against?
By scoring more points. Again, that's what Brownie didn't tell us. Scoring more points. And I think.
Is it going to be a forwards battle or a backs battle?
Well, I think if it's going to be a forwards battle, I think the Knights come out ahead. If you look at the Dragons forward pack, it's a bit bare bones. You don't know many of them. There's Fatala Mariner, there's Jaden Sewer, there's other blokes whose names I don't know because I didn't look at the team sheet.
Yep.
But they're not overly awe-inspiring as a forward pack.
Sure. There's no big names there.
Not particularly.
They're more sort of grunters, if you will.
Yeah, grunters, grinders, battlers.
Laurie.
Yeah. Hugh Laurie?
No, Blake
Dane Laurie. Blake Laurie.
Blake Laurie.
See, there you go. Took me 3 goes to even get his name.
He's a battler. Jack
Never
DeBellin. Morally battler as well. But they're the kind of players that they've been
battled against the legal system for 2 years.
They've been doing a bit of very uppity hits on Manly style football, and they managed to beat Manly at their own game. But if we can get over them on the forwards and not let them get ascendancy, because these guys at the back, I think, are how we might lose this game, Liam.
The back 5 worries me, Naggy.
Yeah.
They've got a very good back 5. They've got Jack Bird at one centre. He's playing really well. Moses Sewell, he's been rejuvenated. He showed some really good form last year. Yeah. Really good this year. They're both really powerful centers. They're powerful. So you need to counter them with powerful men. Bradman Best, Danger Guy, powerful.
Yes.
Then on the wings, you've got power, Michaeli Ravalawa.
Yes.
And as of today, with huge breaking news, Zach Lomax has been told that he's allowed to look elsewhere for next season. And this worries me because there's a big difference between Zach Lomax when he's on a long-term contract, bit comfortable, playing footy, he's okay. But Zach Lomax, when he's playing a position he doesn't want to, at a club he doesn't want to play for, and is proving a point that he needs a big contract next year, that worries me. He's playing the best football of his career over 3 rounds. He's now basically spending the whole year auditioning to get a big contract, and I think he's going to be very dangerous, especially as he plays on the right wing. And who plays on the Knights' left wing, Nagy?
That's a great question.
Great question. One which we'll answer when they kick off. But anyway, he's great at the high ball. They kick the ball, he's near the ball, he catches the ball, he scores. So that's a big concern.
Jenkins,
yeah. Oh, well, there you go. You've got a big, lanky lengthman coming up against him. So that's good. Tyrell Sloan.
I think he's just a finisher. And I think the Dragons have been giving him enough opportunities, the Ben Hunts of the world and everything, just to be like, hey, we're going to put the ball there. Are you going to be there? Yes, he will be. It's like a Cliffy Lyons. He's just going to be there every single time. So you have to assume that he's going to be there and not let them get there.
And just kick the ball to him and smash him heaps. And then, of course, there's the Ben Hunt of it all. You know, because Ben Hunt plays for a bad team and has been so good for that bad team, he often gets forgotten.
Yes.
He gets forgotten about. And I think you would be foolish as a coach to forget about Ben Hunt. Which I hope they don't, because I assume they get the team list as well, the coaches.
I think they might.
We got it. We didn't look at it.
I
hope they look at it. Yeah.
The Dragons have demons in them, Liam. They have demons of losing, getting thrashed.
Yeah.
And I think if the Knights can control it, hopefully with Jackson Hastings, Jack Cogger, 2 players that haven't played a lot of football together in that the halfback 5'8", if they can just control the game, errorless game or under 10 errors, I think we can put the demons back in there and think, hang on a second, we're not going to win this.
But my concern with the demons, Nagy, is that this is a Shane Flanagan coach side.
Yes.
So we know that they're going to be gritty. We know they're going to be tough.
Peptides.
They're probably going to be,
all on
juiced
peptides.
up to the gills. Probably exceeding the salary cap. I don't know.
On the teeth.
On the teeth.
Yeah.
So that worries me, that the Shane Flanagan effect is starting to come into play.
Yes.
But yeah, we don't worry. I called Asada just 2 days ago. So on game day, we'll see which Dragon side runs out.
I think the Knights finally clicked as far as going wide, and it didn't work for them. And there was a slight adjustment. They said, well, we can't go sort of around them. We're going to sort of
go through them.
We're going to go through it. And that was the Bradman Best try. I hope that the Knights want to play that pressure game where they put them in 2 minds, and we can see some tries to Danger Guy and Bradman Best where they think we're going to go wide, but then we go straight.
They're the juiciest matchups to me, the 2 centre matchups. I
so.
like the look of those. I like the look of it. I am tipping Newcastle Knights to win because I'm not a coward. I want to go to tip against my own team. You don't do that.
You don't do that.
1 to 12.
1 to 12.
8.
8
points.
Good solid 8. A relaxed 8 when the clock ticks at 80 minutes ago. Oh, thank God, we had an 8-point lead. I think the Knights are going to get out early. I think the Dragons are going to wrestle it back, and I think this is the first time we're going to see the Knights at home with the crowd behind them say, we're actually a couple of fit blokes, and we're not going to panic. We're just going to control our way to the try line, and again score through our centres, not our wingers. Our wingers, not our centres.
We've got 30,000 good working class coal mining people yelling at us to be better than a group of other working class people from another coal mining area, of course, in the Illawarra. Steel. Yeah, we don't talk about that as much either. The Newcastle Illawarra kind of battle to be the best working class steel and coal town.
They do a bit of that as well. But we do it better. Much like the Wickham Park Hotel. Hopefully you head down to the Wickham Park Hotel. If you can't get to the game, get to the Wickham Park Hotel. Get to the Wicco, I say.
Down to the Wicco. Into the beer garden, drinking beer amongst the leaves and the ferns and the magpies and the animals. It's good stuff.
All of that. They're all out at 8 o'clock at night. But if you like us, please like us on all of these social pipes. Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube, Twitter. No, we're not.
I haven't got it. I haven't posted on that one anymore.
TikTok was the one. Instagram, Apple Pod, all those social pipes. We'll be back next week to talk about how we thrash the Dragons, possibly by 8 points, and then we're on to the next game. And then we're only 2 from 5, and all of a sudden it sounds like a bit more of an exciting season.
Yeah, and then if you look at who we got after that, we're going to piss it in.
Yeah, we can't be stopped. We'll see you next week, Justice.